Have you ever felt the kind of separation that doesn't just break your heart, but cracks your soul? Not the kind that comes with slammed doors or shouted words, but the quiet kind. The kind that slips through your life like fog, leaving behind the outline of someone who once felt like home. One day, they were there. Their presence made your world feel warmer, clearer, alive. And then, they weren't. No dramatic ending, just distance, silence, an empty chair, a message left unread. And suddenly the air feels heavier, the night colder, and your reflection less familiar. You replay conversations, moments, their laugh, the way their eyes softened when they looked at you. You ask yourself over and over, was it real? Did they feel it too? Why did they leave just when it started to feel like destiny? Here's the cruelest part. It didn't end because it wasn't love. It ended because the universe had other plans, because something sacred was unfinished. But not between you and them. Between you and you. That's the ache no one talks about. Not just missing the other, but missing who you became in their presence, the light they awakened in you, the mirror they unknowingly held up, showing you parts of yourself you hadn't yet claimed. And when they're gone, you're left with that mirror, raw, exposed, no one to distract you from the work. But maybe that's not a curse. Maybe that's grace in disguise. Maybe the separation wasn't punishment. It was preparation. Because until you meet the shadow within, you won't recognize the light in someone else. Until you touch your unconscious, you'll keep searching for someone to fill a hole only your soul can mend. This ache is not the end. It's the beginning of your return to wholeness. They were meant to stay. The illusion of forever love. We've all been told the same fairy tale. If it's true love, it stays. If it's meant to be, nothing will break it. But life, real life, doesn't always follow that script. Sometimes the people who ignite our soul don't stay to watch us burn brighter. Sometimes the ones who love us the deepest are also the ones who leave. And we think, that must mean it wasn't real. That must mean I failed. But what if that's not true? Carl Jung said, your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens. We look outside for someone to complete us, to make us feel safe, to give us meaning. But when they leave, something breaks open. That rupture, it's not rejection. It's the soul being summoned inward. It's life saying, now, look within. Because some love stories are not meant to last a lifetime. They're meant to last just long enough to awaken the part of you that was asleep, to trigger the unraveling of an old identity, to break the shell of the persona you've outgrown. When we cling to the belief that they were supposed to stay, we resist the very transformation their leaving is meant to bring. You don't grow because they stayed. You grow because they left. And in that hollow space, you finally meet the self you were always running from. This is not abandonment. This is initiation. Into the shadow, into your ego's collapse, into the sacred unraveling that leads to individuation, the journey toward wholeness. So next time you whisper, but they were meant to stay, ask yourself, or were they meant to awaken something I wouldn't have found on my own? A Jung's doorway, from ego to awakening. Have you ever paused, truly paused, and asked, why now? Why this person? Why did it all fall apart just when it felt most real? That ache, that haunting silence after separation, it isn't random. It's not punishment. It's preparation. Carl Jung once wrote, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." And that quote becomes a compass here. Because what if, just what if, this heartbreak isn't meant to destroy you, but to wake you? Most people spend their lives chasing love with a map drawn by the ego. They look for comfort, timing, symmetry. They expect love to follow logic. But divine timing doesn't serve the ego. It aligns with the soul, with the deeper rhythm of your becoming. When a destined love enters your life, it's not always to stay. It comes like a mirror wrapped in fire, not to soothe your insecurities, but to shatter your illusions. It comes to awaken the parts of you you've hidden, the shadow you've exiled, the persona you've mistaken for truth, and the vast psychic energy that lies dormant in your unconscious. Because real love, the kind that whispers from the self, doesn't cater to fantasy. It tears down the walls between who you pretend to be and who you truly are beneath the silence. So if you've been separated, if you've been left breathless in the middle of a divine goodbye, don't shrink into blame. Don't spiral in waiting. Instead, look inward, because the question is no longer, will they come back? The question is, will you finally come home to yourself? When the universe says, not yet, it means go deeper. Sometimes, the absence hurts more than the betrayal. Not because they're gone, but because their presence lit something in you that now refuses to be extinguished. This is the mystery of divine timing. It doesn't follow the calendar. It doesn't care for the convenience of the ego. It operates from the unconscious, from that vast, invisible space where your truest wounds and your truest self both sleep. And when the universe pulls someone away from you, it's not always a rejection, it's often a summoning back into your shadow. The pain isn't senseless, it's a map to the parts of you still haven't met. Because it's in the silence, in the waiting, in the echo of footsteps that no longer walk beside you, that the real journey begins. What you're feeling now, it's not just loneliness. It's your unconscious trying to speak, trying to show you the parts of you that have long been silenced beneath performance, perfection, and the desire to be chosen. This is the work of individuation, not clinging, not chasing, but descending into the self, into the psychic basement, where grief, rage, hope, and memory all sit at one table. And here's the truth. Divine timing is not the universe withholding love. It's the universe handing you a mirror and saying, look at who you're becoming in their absence. You don't heal by waiting for their return. You heal by meeting the version of yourself that their departure has revealed. So if your soul feels torn, know this, it's being rewoven. And maybe, just maybe, this wasn't the end of a love story, but the beginning of your becoming. Healing is not their return. It's your awakening. What if strength was never about holding on, but about having the courage to let go, so the universe can finish what it started in you? We've been taught that healing arrives when they come back. When the apology finally comes, when the timing finally aligns, when the story gets its closure. But Jung would ask, what if the real healing begins only in their absence? Because that is when the shadow rises, not to haunt you, but to ask, now that they're not here to distract you, will you finally face me? The sorrow you carry. It's not weakness, it's the psychic threshold to your next becoming. The ache in your chest, that's not just grief. It's spiritual labor. It's the raw material from which new strength is born. True power is not the ability to win someone back. It's the ability to stand, bare, broken, breathing, and still choose to feel it all. Because every time you walk through a night without them, you are being initiated. Every time you resist the urge to reach out, you reclaim your psychic energy. Every time you cry and let the tears fall without shame, you restore the wholeness they once mirrored. This separation is not a punishment. It's a ritual, a sacred rite where ego breaks, persona shatters, and what remains is not the version of you they once knew, but the soul the universe has always seen. So don't ask, when will they return? Instead ask, who am I becoming while I wait? That is where your power lives. In the silence, in the becoming, in the sacred space between loss and rebirth. Pain is not the end. It's a spiritual initiation. Have you ever sat in the silence after they left and felt something deeper than sadness, a quiet, a void, a strange kind of presence in their absence? That's not just loneliness, that's the ego cracking. You see, the ego wants resolution. It wants the story to wrap up neatly. Love returned, closure received, timeline restored. But the soul? The soul doesn't care about closure. The soul craves truth, and sometimes truth comes in the form of distance. In Jungian psychology, every great awakening comes with a descent into the unconscious, into shadow, into the underworld of the self. So if you feel like you're falling apart, what's really happening is this. You're crossing a threshold the ego was never meant to enter. Each tear you shed is a sacred libation. Each sleepless night is a rite of passage. Each wave of longing is a bell ringing you deeper into yourself. This is what Jung meant when he spoke of individuation. It's not a concept, it's a confrontation with your grief, with your illusion, with all the pieces of you that begged for love but settled for crumbs. So now, as they fade into the background of your life, you stand in the center of your own sacred fire. And in that fire, something extraordinary happens. You stop asking, why did they leave? And begin whispering, who am I without them? And the answer rises, not from logic, but from the ashes of everything you've outgrown. This is not just heartbreak. This is metamorphosis. This is how the soul remembers its wings. True love is not meant to soothe your ego. It's meant to awaken your soul. If life has separated you from someone you deeply loved, don't see it as punishment. See it as initiation. Because you weren't meant to stay broken, you were meant to become whole. Separation is not the end. It is the pause between chapters. Not so you can lose them, but so you can find yourself. And maybe, just maybe, love didn't leave. It simply stepped aside so the universe could finish shaping you. Carl Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And this pain, this longing, this unbearable emptiness, it's not your enemy. It is the sacred invitation to meet the version of you who no longer begs for love. Because she is love." So here is your truth. You are not waiting. You are not breaking. You are becoming. Becoming someone who no longer chases, but aligns. Someone who no longer clings, but trusts. Someone who no longer pleads for time, but surrenders to divine timing. Because if two souls are truly meant for each other, the universe will not need you to beg. It will only ask that you rise. If this video spoke to your soul, write it below. I trust the divine timing. Let your voice echo your healing. This is not the end. This is your becoming.